on the Good Morning Portugal show. And do you know what? I think it's time to bring Duncan onto the screen. Let's get rid of the quiz for now. Give him a nice big round of applause and bring him onto the screen. From the Silver Coast of Central Portugal. How you doing, Duncan?
Good, thank you, Carl.
Did you like that build-up and a bit rapturous round of applause?
I did. I'm not sure whether it was warranted.
Let's find out. You very kindly sent a guide. Like it's it's an every man's guide, or every person's guide, I should say, to having a go at solar, getting off the grid, and also because did you get fed up of people knocking on your door asking you about your array?
Yeah, well, so I'm an enthusiast in the subject matter of energy, which is wider than solar. So of course I build these things out of my own interest and as a hobby.
Fantastic.
And so my house looks different to others as you're walking by, and there's panels everywhere. And so my neighbours have seen that as an advantage to ask questions about a subject matter that they've got less knowledge in, which I don't mind, but it's got to the point now where we are in Portugal here, that I'm starting to repeat myself on a regular basis. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to write it all down, and then I didn't know what to do with the document. So I've asked Carl if he would kindly distribute it in such a way that people who do have questions and perhaps don't have someone local to themselves have at least a starting point to work from.
You total legend. And what I'd love to do, I mean, I think this is the beginnings possibly of an off-grid alternative energy club for us, where it's a self-help group where, leading lights like yourself make this sort of thing available. Then, some of the rest of us try it. I mean, Solar Pete's here. He's got a massive array that NASA used to navigate around the globe. So there are people in various states of understanding, but I think the tide can rise for all of us. And this is a major contribution to that. And so can I have your permission to post it up at the Portugal Club where people can download it and discuss it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's exactly what it was designed for
Cool.
People to read. It's not a definitive guide. It is, you have to understand, it is a starting point, and it is written from the perspective of someone who is not technical reading it. And so I've gathered information in such a way that if you are a bit intimidated by the subject and the technicality of the subject matter of solar and solar installations, hopefully this document will at least be a starting point for you to understand what you want to do with regards to your own energy, and B, if you are talking to a technical company or a person about the subject matter, maybe getting them to install things for you or buy things for you, you've at least got the basis of the knowledge that you can go into that conversation with some confidence.
Cool. And that is a problem, isn't it? I mean, people have, with the best of intentions, been offered or doorstepped by EDP saying,
yeah,
appealing to people's good nature. Yes, I want to save the planet with a few solar panels. Oh, and I can save a bit of money as well. Yeah, job done. Let's go. Where do I sign? And there is a bit of buyer's remorse sometimes with some of these schemes, isn't there?
Yeah, correct. Because if you look at it from a business perspective, EDP, and let's not beat them up because there are other flavors of ice cream here, but companies like that they have no motivation really to sell you a product which is eroding their revenue, which essentially is what a solar implementation does for them in the manner that they sell it to you. It's a very specific version of solar. It's called grid tie. And so effectively a good grid tied system, what that will do is it will generate energy during the peak period of the day, so that the person at their home can use energy without having to buy it. And business wise, that's actually a very terrible idea. So what EDP and others do is they sell you a product which they're obligated to sell you because there is regulation that makes them do it, that fits that regulation. And often it's smaller than what most people need, or it is overly expensive. They buy a lot of really cheap equipment and they sell it to you at a premium because they've branded it in such a way. And that's where I think unwitting buyers or buyers who don't know enough about the subject matter get caught out. You know, they've got a big company like EDP in this case knocking on their door saying this is a really good thing, and yes, unfortunately it's expensive, but we'll sell it to you on like HP or something like that. And so you feel, okay, well, they're telling me that this is a good thing, therefore I should spend the money. And often it
must be a
or
salesman's dream,
poor.
mustn't it? Can you imagine, you know, if you're in sales and you think, oh gosh, I can really take advantage of people's good nature and eco awareness with this. It must be quite an easy sell if you're a good salesperson. And also a bit of a bombshell this morning, Duncan. Do you mean to say that the Chinese owners of EDP are not working in our best interests? I can't believe it. Right. Okay, maybe you don't have to answer that. You don't have to answer.
I think the politics of this is a much longer conversation, right?
Yes, it is. We haven't got time to go into that doom and gloom right now. But suffice to say, anyone will be wise to become a little bit more independent or savvy about this subject. And the other thing is, I want to. If people are knocking on your door because your house looks a bit Heath Robinson and a bit different, could you paint a pen portrait of what your house actually looks like as you walk past it in the street?
Yeah, sure. So, as is your classic square box, 2 up, 2 down type thing, with a pitched roof, and you'll see that we live in a development area, so all the houses are pretty much the same. And we don't have a huge amount of property where we have, a little bit of lawn and enough room for a pool, and we can park the car in the driveway.
Yep.
So I don't have enough land space to put my solar panels in what's called a ground mount situation or on a carport. So I've had to put my solar panels actually on the roof of the house. And to get enough solar panels to do what I want to do, that is the majority of the roof of the house is covered in solar panels. So it looks like a big shiny box as you walk past. It really does. Whereas everywhere else is the lovely Portuguese tiles going on. So as a result, we stand out a bit.
They need to make a Portuguese one, don't they? That looks like an azulejo tile that goes on the roof.
Yeah, Tesla tried to do that, didn't they?
Did they? I don't know. What did they try and do?
Yeah, they make roofing tiles that are solar panels.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it does from an aesthetics point of view. But with a lot of these things, you need to have iterations of technology for them to be efficient. And the reality of a solar panel is that the traditional square blob that looks like a massive mirror is the most efficient thing at the moment. And aesthetically, they just don't look that great. And so you have to be a bit aware of where you put them.
Yeah.
But people are doing interesting things with them, just on the shape and size of a solar panel. They are, as with a lot of these things, the cost of a solar panel today is vastly less than it was even 3 years ago, like when I brought mine. So an average solar panel now might cost you €100 or sometimes even less. But they are still
from a shop, an accessible shop. You don't have to go to a specialist. You go to Leroy Merlin, can't you, for something quite good?
Absolutely. Yeah. And you can order them online. They just turn up and like an Amazon delivery.
Yeah.
But they are still 2 meters tall and sometimes 500 millimeters wide, which is quite a lot of space. And if you think about a fence, for example, the filling the space between 2 posts has a cost. And people are doing some really interesting things with solar panels when they're using them as fencing panels. And while they're not as efficient in that orientation, if they are facing at least in a general direction of the sun, and you have tens of meters of the things and in a fence, you can run things like your pool pump. You can run, if you've got a well, you might run a well. You might run some outside lights just by having a fence.
Yeah, absolutely. These are some of the illustrations from the guide you've made. I mean, so you could hang it from your balcony like that, couldn't you? I mean, the carport is the obvious thing, isn't it? And the supermarkets are doing this now. And of
Yeah,
course,
yeah, correct.
there's one for your garden and roofs. You know, there are so many roofs that are as yet untouched by solar panels, which is the obvious place rather than sticking them in the beautiful landscape near Fundao, blighting the
Correct.
countryside. You'd think maybe a few of these could go onto buildings. But can I ask you then, I mean, as well as giving us this fantastic guide, and I've put the link for that into the chat so people can start the conversation, and hopefully I'll send you an invitation to join our Portugal club as well. If you, I don't know, maybe you don't want to be inundated with questions, but if people can ask you from time to time, or if we can get you back from time to time, that would be awesome. What's the first step? This presumably is like a lot of, you know, how people learn new things. It's baby steps. What will be the first few baby steps in getting to grips?
Yeah, so the first few baby steps are understanding what your energy usage is and how to develop that matrix.
Okay.
Because there is no point in buying a system if you don't know what size of system you need, or in
Right.
fact, what you're going to be using that system for. So an example of that would be your total usage just at your home might be 20,000 kilowatts a day. But if you only care about your internet being on and your fridge running and being able to boil a kettle to make a cup of tea if you're in a brownout for 4 hours, then you're probably not going to want to spend, upwards of 20,000 euros to put a massive off-grid system in place. You
Hold on, what's
might
a brownout?
just
What's the difference between a brownout and a blackout?
So a
Did you say?
brownout is where the power might be insufficient to run things. It's still sort of there, but it's actually
Oh,
not. So it's where the infrastructure is struggling, and you'll see this in areas where the area's grown too quickly, and the infrastructure on the street is starting to struggle with the number of people that are connected.
okay, good. Thank you.
So that everybody puts their kettle on all at one time or something, and then
Oh yes, in the tea break of the FA Cup final or something like that.
that's the one.
Yeah, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the box on the street goes, "Oh my god, I can't handle all these cups of tea."
Or at
Um,
the Welsh bar, when we've
yeah,
been watching rugby at the Welsh bar, and
yeah,
everybody wants fish and chips at the same time we're watching the telly, and the
yeah.
chip fryer goes on and the thing goes off. There is a really good practical example. Yeah, that's
Exactly. And the thing with a brownout is that it probably will affect you for hours. It might be a peak period of time where the power is not good enough for you to do anything at home. But when that load goes away, then the power comes back. Or if the energy company comes out and gives their box a kick or something, all of a sudden it comes back on and everybody's happy. A
right.
blackout is where there's been an actual issue where the power is off for a while. A tree falls over on a line and it takes the power company, a few days or a week or something to come out and affect that repair.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Or in the worst case, the Ukraine-Russia war, where they are targeting each other's infrastructure and they're actually taking things offline. People in cities are offline for weeks and months at a time and
Yes.
have to deal with an actual blackout situation. And we
Yeah.
had that recently here, I think, when, in France and Spain, which is a power infrastructure that we rely on here in Portugal, they had significant issues with their infrastructure that went offline for, a day or more. Well, they sorted that out. They are blackout situations.
Yeah, the apagao, which was again another message to everybody, wasn't it? To maybe have a little
Yeah,
think about this, get yourself a little bit more independent.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
All right, so baby steps, and we were looking at calculating your total requirement.
Yeah,
It's supply and demand, I suppose, isn't it? So figure out what you want and what you need. Yeah.
correct. And then with that, and that is one of the requirements that if you engage with a company, they're gonna want to ask you that question at least anyway.
Yeah.
And now you've got a gauge of, because they'll start talking to you about how much a solar panel can generate per hour or per day or whatever, or if you've got a battery, how long it will last, etc. And you can't determine whether or not those things will actually suit your needs if you haven't done that first step of understanding what your needs are in the first place.
Great. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the next thing from there is splitting those needs into what's called critical and non-critical loads. And in real terms, it is from an energy perspective what you really care about, what must stay on, and then what you don't necessarily need on, you can get by without it. And so a good example there would be the fridge and the internet. I would class as critical loads. You really want those going all the time. If you have a brownout or a blackout during the middle of the night, you don't want to wake up to find all of your ice cream melted on the floor at the freezer, or
Half a cow you bought, yes, has suddenly defrosted. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't call mum on the internet or watch sports or whatever. That would be a disaster.
Oh my God.
So they would be critical loads, and non-critical loads might be things like your AC, your pool pump, your oven. You might be able to get away with not having those things for a few hours or a day or two.
Cool.
And so once you've decided what your critical and non-critical loads are, you can start talking to your supplier about, can I have a system which just handles my critical loads, for example, in a brownout situation? And that might be a reasonably small scenario. You might, at that point, go out and again, there's many flavors of ice cream in this, but you might go out and get one of those Bluetti power banks,
yes,
which is literally a suitcase-sized box that you store a whole lot of energy in. You kick it under the bed for a while, and then in a brownout, you pull it out, you plug your internet into that and your fridge into that, and you can boil your kettle, and it might only last a couple of hours.
And be a hero as you reach under the bed, and your partner says, "What are you doing?" "I'm just whipping out my Blue Yeti, darling."
That's the one.
We can have tea now. You'll be a hero, wouldn't you? Saving the day.
Exactly. And then you've got the extra advantage of being able to make a cup of tea down the beach as well, because you throw it in the car.
Yes.
As I think you've done, haven't you, Carl? You took one of these things somewhere and you made
the other Carl McAdam. He's been experimenting. He and definitely, there are a lot of threads and a lot of great people in this conversation that we can bring together. And look, Mike, thank you, Duncan, our first happy customer here. Just downloaded the solar guide, so I popped it up on the Portugal Club about 10 minutes ago. He's already downloaded it. He's thinking of going into this. Thank you for putting that together. So our first thanks to you there, Duncan. But Carl, was noticing, I mean, when you and I had that brief conversation yesterday, he was noticing how the price of all these things is coming down. He bought an amazing battery. Batteries are like hard drives now, aren't they? They're sort of partitioned and they're intelligent and smart, and you can do incredible things with them. He bought an amazing rack mountable battery and an inverter. We took this down to the quay at San Martino de Porto, and to prove this is people do have a concern, of course, don't they? It's like, especially in Portugal, can I put on a hairdryer, a kettle, and a toaster at the same time? Even on the grid, a lot of people can't do that. We did it with his off-grid system. We wheeled it down there, and we made tea and toast. And then whilst we were eating tea and toast, none of us have got any hair, but we still sparked up the hairdryer to show that it was possible if somebody.
Exactly. And in its smallest form, something like a Bluetti power bank is all of those things. It's the battery and the inverter and the charge control all in this one box. So you don't have to have these different components. You can still have solar panels. You whip them out, and they normally fold up, like you've got like your beach tent going on. And you just flop these things out over your car on the ground or whatever, and you can charge your thing up.
Wonderful.
And so that and if you were just wanting to dip your toe in the water with the subject matter, something like that actually is a low risk option where you can experience the power of generating your own energy and storing your own energy, because this is really what it's all about. It's no different to having a vegetable garden and storing vegetables, or mum making pickles and sticking them in the cupboard, right? You're doing it with electricity.
Yes. Very good. So these are the first steps, and a quick win, low hanging fruit. Get to grips with it. Get to know your needs.
Correct.
Get to know the critical times. experiment maybe with a little rig and have. I mean, I bought this thing a long time ago. I can't remember the name of it. BioLite, really great American company called BioLite. They make little stoves, and they made a panel the size smaller than a laptop screen. And it was a mini solar panel you could hang on your backpack, and it would charge your phone up. And just doing that with kids, or even as a grown-up, you think, wow, this is what's possible, isn't it? So you're learning a little bit about it, getting a hands-on experience. I would love
even the small block things that you used to throw in your bag when you were traveling on the plane, and which they won't let you have now. But you could charge your phone in the airport because you forgot your charging plug. You just plugged it into this power bank thing, right? That is in the smallest form exactly the same thing that we're talking about.
Brilliant. Can we have a final tip from you, Duncan? And will you can we have you as a resident expert in our community? Will you put yourself forward?
The next key thing about really what the document talks about is normalizing the conversation with an expert. So comparing apples to apples. This is one of the real challenges with seeking quotations from experts, is that often you'll get back different answers and different values, and it's really difficult for you to then make a financial decision. So the way that you at least soften that is by asking the same question of all of them and expecting them to return the answer to you in the same way, even if they're not supplying all of the same parts. And that, at least then, when you've got these series of financial quotes coming back, you can compare evenly and fairly, and you can make a real and accurate financial decision, which ultimately is where the real savings come in a situation like this. Because if you are investing in your home energy production, there is some real money involved, and even at the low end, if you buy one of these grid tie things from like EDP, you could be looking at 5,000 or 6,000 euros. And if you took that same 5,000 or 6,000 euros and asked the right questions of solar companies in the right way, you could invest that same 5,000 or 6,000 euros in a better way, in my view. And that I think is the key with the subject matter, is asking a technical question in the right way and getting the same answers back. And that empowers you to do two things: to spend your money in the right way, and the last thing would be to build this thing in a modular way, because this is the other thing that people don't understand. You don't have to buy these things all at one time and throw a huge amount of money all up front. You can actually buy them in phases over a period of time and walk yourself into a much larger system over a period of time, and you can do that safely and fiscally in the right way.
Very, very good. Okay, well, thanks so much again for this. This is such a wonderful contribution.
Well,
apparently cheap Bluettis are everywhere. Nearly everyone we know has been given them for their YouTube channels. Where were we when they were given out, Duncan? We didn't get them, did we, for our channels? So they're all going cheap. Well, we'd be happy to give one of those a home and to have further discussions. So that's definitely up in the Portugal Club. We've also we have your kind of final point here, your conclusion. It's not a spoiler, really. It's just really great advice, isn't it? The key is planning, not guessing with this. Because
I'm not an expert. I'm just an enthusiast, and I found that people were asking me for some knowledge. I just wanted to write it down in a way that I think people can disseminate it in a non-technical way. Hopefully, the guide is helpful.
It already is. It already is. It's working its magic, and it's beautifully presented and laid out. If only we could have more guides like this on the various aspects of life in Portugal. You've set the bar high there, and given us an incredible gift and contribution to this community. So really grateful to you for that, and hope to chat to you again and bump into you again. It's amazing what happens when you know Colin Ross Jones, isn't it?
Exactly.
Okay, well, have a great day and thank you. And see you over at the club and see you back on the screen here. Cheers, Duncan. All the best to you. Have a great day. Ciao, ciao. There goes. That's fantastic. Now let me put that link up again, so you know where to download that. I mean, it's the first post you'll come to now if you go to the portugalclub.com, and there are so many comments about this in the chat. Of course, people with their own levels of experience about this. That I can't find my link to it, but go over to GMPVIP for short, or the portugalclub.com, and it's the first link there. Mike's already downloaded it, which is fantastic.